It's another beautiful Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. Yay, we're here. We made it. We are live. Yabba dabba do. Hump Day Happy Chat coming at ya. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. My name is Valerie Shepard. I'm coming to you live from the Hartley Center for Mindfulness and Self-Mastery. We are really grateful to be here today. It's the first Wednesday after my 2.5 day, it might have been 3 days even, 2.5 day intensive retreat. That feels like an oxymoron, but I say it anyway. 2.5 day retreat that I was blessed to be able to give in collaboration with 1440 Multiversity up in Scotts Valley, which is an absolutely beautiful place. This is the second time that I've been there, and I just loved it. The redwoods are just all around. I loved listening to the frogs in the evening. It was worth everything that it took to be there, and I'm really excited that I was able to do it. Yay! And you know, that was one of those dream things. I went there 2 years ago, I think, year and a half, to attend a conference, the Contemplative Mind in Higher Education Conference, which I was so grateful to be able to go to, sponsored by UCI. It was so beautiful. And to be able to collaborate and connect with other people like me who were working on this kind of co-curricular education to help young adults in higher education understand the inner game of success, and to be able to go into the contemplative mind, to understand what mindfulness is and how it contributes to health and well-being and wellness and mental health and emotional spirit and all of that. And while I was there, I fell in love with the place, made some really awesome connections. But I fell in love with the place, and I declared, I'm going to teach here. Good morning. Thank you for joining. I declared I'm going to teach here. And I submitted a proposal, and boom, there you go. So I was teaching this past weekend. We had a lovely group of people, and shout out to the This Is How You Soar contingent. It was just fabulous. I always feel blessed to be a messenger of the wisdom that I'm here to carry. And it was really great. And I had several things I wanted to talk about. I was like, well, you know, what feels like it wants to come through this morning, but what felt like it's like getting the most energy, or giving the most energy to me, is this question that came up several times right before the retreat, during the retreat, on the way back. And I titled it, What the Whoops? Whoops! Because there were several whoopses, like, whoops. I spell it WHOOPS, exclamation point, question mark. I don't know how you spell it, but, you know, that's the way I'm feeling it, right? Feeling the whoopses that came up. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about this thing called making mistakes. They're not always fun. I mean, maybe sometimes they are. Like when we make a mistake and people say it like, I fall forward. So it's kind of like I'm tripping, but I'm falling forward. So, and I've even said that, at least when I fall, I'm, you know, a couple steps before where I was when I started to trip. And it can be like that. And it can also be not like that. Like what the whoops is, like what are the whoopses, and what are they happening for? How are they giving us a deeper lens into what we're here to do and not do? What's going on with us underneath the surface? What's the deeper nugget that's wanting to be revealed through a whoops or not? So here's the way I was thinking about it. I used to be incredibly hard on myself. It really gets back to, what are you here to learn? What's your life cultivating for you to see about yourself? How is the from you, for you, to you, by you showing up in a whoops? Like, these situations are often by divine design, like everything else in your life. So if we think that the miraculous things are by divine design, we kind of have to take a little bit of that energy, and we need to be able to look at everything in our life by divine design. So why would divine design create a whoops in my circumstance? So I used to deal with them in a not so healthy way. They were always the sign of my being less than. Making a mistake was dangerous. It was something that would prevent me from moving forward. I used to be really hard on myself. Like, I can't believe I made the mistake. I would play the mistake over and over and over in my head. It would live on long past its time, like long past its time. Does that sound like you at all? Do you beat yourself up? Are you hard on yourself? Like, are you your worst nightmare? I used to worry about how mistakes made me look, especially having been raised with a wounding around race, around, if I make mistakes. I grew up hearing things like Black people have to work twice as hard to get half as much. And that can put some real stuff on the inside that can make it really an internal struggle, no matter what I'm doing, to feel like I'm really going to get credit where credit's due. Understanding that, learning that about myself has been one of the biggest openings that I've been blessed to walk through, with a different energy and a different mentality. But so being worried about how they make me look, worried about what's wrong with me, like that inadequacy, that little voice saying, I must be the only one making these kinds of mistakes. How did I miss it? I took it very personally, that there was something about me that made mistakes part of my experience. I also felt very much at times like there was something or someone out to get me, which then led to this other little toxic effect. So it's bad enough to beat yourself up, but then there's this little toxic effect that called blame and shame. So I would shame myself or shame others. I would find someone to blame so I could lift some of that uncomfortable feeling of being responsible. I wanted to take responsibility, but it really felt hard and heavy and yucky. And this was a great thing to think about after my retreat called This Is How You Soar, where one of the things we talk about in the retreat is it is really, really difficult to soar like an eagle when I'm tying weights around my ankles. And the weights can be the way I look at myself in my life, the way I interpret the things that happen to me, the way I experience me and others, the way I carry things from the past into every future moment. They're anchors that hold us down. And so it really felt important to talk about this idea about letting go of anchors that weigh you down if you really want to soar. Reaching your highest potential is about being light, being the light being that you were born to be, that you were incarnated to be. It's a part of what you are, this lightness. And to restore yourself to that, no matter what the life that you're living looks like, to restore yourself to that place of seeing your own brilliance, your magnificence, being it, like really owning it, claiming it, being responsible for it, breathing it into your experience. Hello there, thank you for joining. So there were a couple whoopses on the trip. What the whoops? So one of them started before I left, when I was thinking about being on the road during when I would normally do the Hump Day Happy Chat. And my assistant and I, very carefully scheduled a video that we wanted to share to be during that time. It was going to be pre-recorded, so it wasn't going to be live, but it was going to be the substitute Hump Day Happy Chat. And we scheduled it, and it didn't show up. It showed up at some point that day. We were scrolling through the page looking for it. I was in a car. She was in Canada, my virtual assistant. We were looking for it, and it never, I don't know if you ever saw it. We never really found it. We'd scheduled it for a time, and it just didn't show up when we wanted to. So there was the, what the whoops, beautiful plan. It didn't turn out the way we wanted it to. So I apologize if you were looking for the Hump Day Happy Chat and it wasn't there for you. I apologize for that. Somehow, I scheduled 2 different hotels for the same night. One of them I actually remember very vividly canceling. This is my story anyway. I very vividly remember canceling it. And here's what I think happened. But it's not canceled in the system. I called the hotel. I called other places. It wasn't canceled in the system. Yes, they charged me for that night. Haven't worked that out yet. I'm hoping there's some grace there. Haven't gotten a call back from the manager. Bayfront Hotel, Santa Cruz, shouting out to the manager, Rapesh, call me. I don't know what the whoops was. It didn't show up. Yikes. Paying for 2 hotels one night. Eek. Scary. Financial scariness. We had failure at 1440. The keys to the place failed a couple times. Failure at 1440. As a disabled person, that place has lots of beautiful hills and steps, but I never asked what kinds of accommodations and help I could get. And I noticed other people were getting shuttled places. Finally, I asked a woman, she goes, oh yeah, if you tell them that you have a disability, they'll pick you up and give you a walkie-talkie and you'll be cared for. I didn't ask. Whoops. And we could go on and on. The whoopsie daisies happen. I guess the truth of the matter is whoopsie daisies are the gifts that give us the opportunity to ask the questions that take us to the next level. If we're willing to do more inside the whoops from a place of gratitude, compassion, self-love, tolerance, harmony, collaboration, creativity. Like the high vibration energy is waiting to be brought into any situation, including the one, especially the ones, but including the ones where we're kind of scratching our head, maybe not feeling so great about it, and wondering how we got there, and wondering how we get out of it. How do we excavate ourselves? So one of the things that I talk about as a solve in the whoops, one of the things that I talk about in my classes, that I talk about in my workshops, and that I definitely teach in my book. It's about going into the situation, not running away from it, not doing the resistance, not pushing it away. Everything in our life is happening for us, and it's probably inspired by what's going on within us. And therefore, the resistance of it, even though it feels icky, is not serving you. It's not serving you. The best place to be when the whoops happens is to take a step forward into the whoops and say, hi there, whoops. What'd you come to show me? About me, from me, to me, for me. What'd you come to teach me? About me, for me, from me, to me. What'd you come to give me an opportunity to? What is the opening that if I show up in openness, shout out to my retreatants, we talked about this, the openings are calling to us in our life. They're openings. You probably have some calling to you too. The question is, are you open enough to notice? And are you open enough to receive what the opening is bringing to you, and therefore offering you when you stand in it? So one of the ways to deal with the whoops, what the whoops, is to go to gratitude as quickly as you can. It's the highest vibration next to unconditional love. Gratitude, and also grace. Look for the opportunity for grace. So I had a little bit of a whoops, or a big whoops, with the hotel before we got to 1440. We got a big helping of grace when we got to 1440. Big helping of grace. I thought we were going to be in like a hotel room as a faculty member. They put me in a residence, which was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. So my guest and I, as far as I was concerned, were staying in the lap of luxury. We had a kitchen and a living room and 2 bedrooms, and it was beautiful. The back deck, we sat on the back deck and talked to the frogs and listened to the birds. It was exquisite. And my wonderful partner said, hey, because I didn't have to pay for the accommodations here, I'll help you with that mistake. That's grace. I'm still trying to figure out how I can get her money back and talk to the hotel. It's grace, though. It softened the blow. And it helped me look even deeper. Why'd the whoops happen in the first place? So what was it that made me think adamantly, I've taken care of this? But in the systems, in nobody's system, I had no confirmation of a cancellation. I had nothing. There was nothing in any system that showed it. So I had to ultimately take responsibility. Like, okay, something happened. And as I meditated on it, I realized I got distracted in the midst, or I even made a decision to hold off on canceling till I'd confirmed another reservation, and I never went back to the cancel part. Why, though? Because I was probably doing too much. And I've heard a voice saying, stop working so much. I've even talked to my coaches about letting go, about being still. And I kept rationalizing that because this retreat was coming, I had to do things. I had to get it done. People were counting on me. I had to do it. And there's an opportunity cost. And so the had to turned into yes. And now I have to pay for these 2 hotels because I didn't really check the boxes the way I needed to. And in the moment of accepting responsibility, the other thing we have to do is be compassionate with ourselves. Be self-loving. I made a mistake. I don't do it all the time. I actually don't even do it a lot. But when I do, it's important that taking responsibility with compassion for the self is really a part of it. Compassion for the others, the people on the other end of the phone who couldn't do anything to solve the problem. There was nothing they could do. Compassion for that, instead of beating them up for not taking care of me, which I have done in the past. And then the last bit, asking the difficult and the deep questions. The surface situation, what we see on the surface is often misleading. What we see when we see an angry person, what we see when we see people doing a certain thing a certain way or not doing something at all is the surface. And the surface may be hiding the deeper truth of what's really going on. The compassion, the opportunity for compassion is always there, no matter what we're seeing. The opportunity for unconditional love, no matter what we see on the surface. So asking the difficult questions that go below the surface. Am I really spread too thin? And why would I do that to myself, knowing what I know? Putting into practice what I know. Am I still hooked on striving, on struggle, on overcoming difficult circumstances? I know, I write about this in my book. I know that that has been a part of my past. And when you talk about soaring, being hooked into having a difficult time means you could keep trying to lift off, but you keep getting pulled back or pushed down before you can actually hit the altitude that you want. I don't want that for myself or for you. So asking those difficult questions, Am I holding myself back? Am I keeping myself down? Am I dimming my light somehow? Going below the surface of what's going on with me? Am I still trying to do everything alone, afraid to ask for help because it might make me look weak or like I don't know what I'm doing, like I'm an imposter? I should know this. Or here's a really deep one. Am I waiting for my savior? Am I waiting for someone to come along and make it all better, fix it all, do it all right, so I don't have to do it? Am I waiting to be rescued from my knight in shining armor? Where's my knight in shining armor? Only it's me. So what the whoops might be calling to you. And remember to be in gratitude for what's going on, even in the middle of the whoops. How is it helping you to get beyond the surface, go deeper, look for the grace in the situation? What is showing up that even in the midst of the whoops is asking you to be smiling, to feel inspired, to feel hopeful, and to keep going? Where's your compassion for yourself and the other people inside the whoops? I'm still growing in my capacity for compassion. And what else might be calling to you in the midst of it? I'm sending you lots of love and light. I'm feeling a ton of gratitude to be here, a ton of gratitude for you tuning in, a ton of gratitude and grace over my retreatants, and I'm just sending you all kinds of love. And I'm just going to close on the pollinating the world with love mudra, shouting out to my girlfriend, sister, Beth Bell. Here we go. Namaste. Many blessings. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week. Bye now. Turning everything off. Happy Hump Day.